Why are you contesting Lok Sabha polls after you stayed away as a candidate in 2014 and 19? Why now?
I think Parliament is very important in the context, in the backdrop of 2019, what happened in 2019. I honestly believe that the people of J&K deserve that their voices be heard post 2019.
Okay. You have not fielded candidates in any of the seats except yourself. What do you envisage to achieve as the lone MP of your party if you are elected?
If I am elected, I would be a voice. I believe that the voices of the people I represent should resonate in the Parliament. We live in a digital world, and Parliament is the highest, the supreme constitutional platform that you can probably have. And I see it as a mode of communicating with the rest of the country. You have MPs from all across the country. There are a lot of untold stories of Kashmir, of the anger that is here, of the atrocities, of the wrongs. Of course, there are many goods also. I'm not saying everything is wrong. But there are many things which I believe that even people of India, through their representatives, deserve to hear.
Okay. You have accused National Conference of being indirectly responsible for the eruption of militancy in Kashmir. Your opponents have blamed you and your late father, especially your late father, for not only endorsing violence but also forming a militant outfit in 1990. What do you have to say to that? How do you react?
Wonderful. 87, I will repeat ad nauseum that 1987 was the darkest chapter in the history of J&K, wherein a peace-loving community for decades finally took up arms. I don't condone under any circumstances violence, but the blatantly rigged elections of 1987 was a catalyst wherein people took up arms. And thereafter, till date, there has been no closure. If there is a violent event today, you have to relate it to the rigging of 1987. Till date, no questions have been asked. There has been no accountability, no transparency. What happened? Why did gun? How did gun erupt? We don't grow gun on trees. Now, when it comes to my father, you talked of 1990. My father was in jail until 1994. All the militant outfits were made around 1990, and he was in Jodhpur jail under the most strict jail centers, I was taught. So I think when he came back, all the militant outfits were made and whatever. And my father was, there is no doubt, he challenged the state. He started his career as a congressman at a time when NC used to do social boycott of congressmen. My late father used to tell me that they were so good at propaganda that my grandfather asked my father that by joining Congress whether he had exited Islam. In those days, Sheikh Saab the Great used to say that people who are with Congress have exited Islam. And today, Alhamdulillah, his grandson and son are the die-hard allies of the same Congress. So his journey from there to separatism and then being killed by militants from Pakistan is a case study which I think I would invite young people like you to go into. It gives it will give you a lot of inkling in depth into what Kashmir issue is. That they are all humans around us and we are labeling them, targeting them. While as if you look at a continuous force which has pushed leaders out of the political space into a space of rebellion, forced rebellion onto people, forced rebellion onto leaders. It's not only my father. There's so many others who are fighting elections. I will tell you, I will not name the person. I gave a press conference today. And then I got a text from an unknown number. This is from the brother of a person who was killed. He was the first person, apparently, who took up to arms. And he wrote to me that, could you please next time say that before picking up the gun, the NC had put my brother under PSA 13 times because he used to be the agent of the opposite party. So there are millions of, instances wherein, because of politics, they could not deliver politically. In every other part of India, new political forces came in. For 6 years, there was one party. For 5 years, there was one party. For 5 years, another party. Newer forces came. Samajwadi Party came. RJD came. Trinamool Congress came. So many other outfits. Telugu Desam came. Well, here it was only NC. Only NC. Is J&K not a part of India? Is world a part of J&K or J&K a part of the world? Isn't change inevitable in every part of the world? Why wasn't there change here? Because there was a central party, namely the Congress, which was hell-bent that no, it has to be them. Vote for any party as long as NC is in power. And they used to rig. When it reached to a point where people could take it no more, they resorted to arms, which they should not have done because we lost out. But this is the story, and I will say yes, 87 was responsible. And unless and until Delhi does not acknowledge 87 and file an FIR against 87, book the perpetrators of 87, there will never be a closure. You want total peace? Then go into 1987. Its causes, the actors, and book them.
All right. You are part of the PDP-BJP coalition in Jammu and Kashmir government in 15 to 18, I think. And it's widely believed that you were made a minister from BJP quota because even though PDP and BJP had enough seats, they did not need your support. You have been accused of being the BJP's B team in Kashmir, B and C teams in Kashmir. What do you have to say about that?
No, I don't have to say anything. There was no quota. This is the news invented by people. I was asked to be a part. I have never applied. I was the last man to leave from Srinagar. I refused to be a part of the cabinet. I will not say who, but I was called and invited to join the cabinet. And I thought, why not? I went in there. But this is the uniqueness of Kashmir. There is a person called Umar Abdullah, who is the foreign minister at a very young age of the NDA government headed by Mr. Vajpayee. And there was Mehbooba Ji, there was Mufti Saab, who were chief ministers. And there was a tiny animal husbandry minister. He is the BJP guy. The others are not. It is hilarious even asking me this question. I mean, say they were the ones. One was the whole foreign minister of state, of course, for the entire country. And at a time when violence was at a peak, and he was a shield for all the human rights violations that were taking place here. He was that guy who would say, no, everything is okay in Kashmir. No, not at all. Look, our foreign minister is from that place. These are all lies, propaganda. And then there was the chief ministers also. But who was the fall guy? Sajjad Loan. Why? Because he's not a part of that elite circle. He's outside the circle. So you have anything, dump it on him. So, but frankly, I don't give a damn. It doesn't, there are these people who are with the Shiv Sena now. The Shiv Sena. In Kashmiri, if you have to humiliate someone, you say, you are like Shiv Sena. They're in bed with the Shiv Sena. They're actually in bed with the Shiv Sena. How worse can it get? You can't stoop lower.
All right, it's a fair point. But Omar Abdullah in his every election speech these days is accusing of meeting BJP leader Taran Chugh when he came to Srinagar in the recent past.
There is no doubt I bumped into him. My hand on my heart, I bumped into him. Actually, Altaf Saab is a very dear friend. What people don't know, that politically we might not be the same, but we have an association of 50 years. My father was his father's friend. That's how I know Altaf Saab. We keep on visiting. He was not feeling well. I was talking to him, and he once complained that you don't even come to see me. And without telling him, I just entered, and apparently he was quite ill that day. He had that elevated heart rate or something. So I came in, he was coming out. Hi, how are you? Maybe 2 minutes. If you think that a person called Umar Abdullah, who has presided over unified command meetings, between him and his father, at least 50 odd meetings, in which I'm sure they ordered to fire on unarmed Kashmiris. Between two of them, 10,000 PSAs. Between two of them, so many murders. And yet, I bump into someone, so I have to be put in the dock. They can do whatever they want to do. I'm very clear with my people. And for someone like Umar Abdullah, whose party has been in power for 40 years, there are negatives and positives. You're in power for 40 years, you have an entire ecosystem. And then the negative side is that you have to defend your 40 years. For somebody in 40 years, I would believe that Mr. Umar Abdullah should seek votes on the basis of what they have done in 40 years, rather than that Sajjad loan is bad. If I meet someone, actually what he says, assuming it's true, that doesn't make him an angel. He has to be angelic to be an angel. Just because I am bad, that does not make him good. He will have to answer. You question him and he says, he met A, he met B. Fine. Okay, done. He's a bad guy. Done. Now, why did you order to kill people? Why did your party rig elections? Have you murdered people? Have you ordered hits? Did you put people under PSA? Did you bring PSA, a draconian law like PSA? Was it scripted by your grandfather? Did you introduce POTA? There's so many questions. So many human stories of murder which have been scripted by them. But what do you do?
Okay, I think in 2018 it was that when Satyapal Malik was the governor, you had two MLAs and you staked claim on the government. Was it a serious attempt at becoming the chief minister, or was it just brinksmanship?
No, to be very honest, no. We did not have the numbers. That's a reality. And I called him. I just talked to him and I said, Sir, wait karoge? मैं लंदन में हूँ. He said, करेंगे. तुम बताओ कितना टाइम लगेगा? That's it. He said, fax भेज दो. And then fax चल नहीं रहा था. That's it. Then this whole thing was made कि भाई इसने अब now he is talking about कि सजाद को बोला वो है. I know Mr. Malik very well. If he was under pressure, there is a person who is an LG sent by a particular government. You really think he would have the spine? A person who did not have the spine to say no to Article 370 and sign on every dotted line. So he would have the spine to say, no, I will not swear in Sajjad. Tell me. He demolished Kashmiris by his role in the removal of Article 370. The first public slandering, the institutionalized slandering of Kashmiris was done by him. When he came, he would say, wherever I go, there are carpets. Oh, blind me, now having carpets means you're elitist. There are houses. Don't they have houses in his hometown? So, there was not a serious attempt. I was testing waters. But I did have a lot of MLAs calling me that, sir, let us get together. But I was abroad, having a good time. And I just thought it's not worth it coming back. I just stayed back.
Okay. Do you harbor the mission of becoming chief minister? And if it's a yes, why then go to parliament when assembly elections are likely to be expected before September this year?
No, it's not. I would honestly want my party to be in power. There is so much we can do. So much out of box thinking. So many ideas I have. I really believe that, we could have Kashmir as horticulture and tourism. Focus everything on these two sectors. That's where our economic calling is in. I don't believe industry, even in Jammu area, is actually a very good idea. Because any industry which is supported by government help, that's what my economic theory is, my economic mantra is, that any industry which is helped by government to sustain will eventually fail. Subsidies will fail. Yes, to kickstart, to jumpstart, you get interest-free loans, you give one-time payments, fine, wonderful. But if you have to sustain them through concessions, they will eventually fail. What will not fail is tourism. That's where your competitive advantage lies. That's where you have an edge over others. Then horticulture, and I'm talking of high density stuff, where the revenue per canal is in a lakh or 80,000. So my idea would be focus on horticulture, focus on tourism, and of course allied fields. I'm not saying ignore everything, but these two together could make up for 30-40% of the GDP in the next 30 years. We could be looking at 3, 4, 5 million tourists, and authentic tourists, not pilgrims, in the next 10 years. So we could have a policy to see how many rooms we have now, how many we need in the future. So there is a lot that we could do. I have these ideas. Whether I do it, if I become the chief minister or my party is there in power, it is the same thing. But as on date, I think parliament is very important. So that's why I believe that we should,
But do you envisage to achieve those things if the Jammu and Kashmir continues to be empty?
No, they will not be achieved. Then they won't be achieved. Then it is futile. Then it's futile. And I think um, the entire Indian people, whether through parliament, it is something, it will be on their conscience if they don't rise up and tell their governments, whichever the government of the day is, that how can you not allow the people of J&K to have a full right and a full say on how they resolve their own matters. Why should a Kashmiri be different from a Gujarati? You see, first of all, you were talking about a special Kashmiri, a special J&K. Fine. Now accept us as equals, dignified coexistence. You can't have us as inferiors, that you can't look after our matters, so we will look after your matters. After all, the country is not doing well, very well internationally. Take the rhetoric away. The poverty levels are very, very high. We lag behind in all sectors of infrastructure. So they have not done an immensely good job in other places to suggest, or that other places are not doing so well to suggest that you could not take care of your things, and that we will do these things for you.
Okay. August 5 happened. Then you and so many other parties took the case to the Supreme Court. Now the apex court, over than last year, the verdict has left almost no chances of getting it back. So do you think it was a mistake? Do you regret it taking the case to the court?
I don't know. Could be. We should. But then you see, we could have worked together and said, let us save it for a rainy day. But that could not have stopped somebody else going to the Supreme Court. Say tomorrow they select someone that you go to the court. So getting a court judgment is not that difficult. So our staying away from court would have made things worse for us politically at home. But that, if we had not gone there, there would not have been a judgment, is not true either. They could create a person to go to the court.
You mean they? You mean Delhi?
Yeah.
You wrote the book in 2008, I think. Achieving the Nation.
Yes.
Yeah. So is it
No,
still a
6 or 7.
realistic goal, or you have reconciled to the present state somehow?
No, you see, Achievable Nation would never talked about secession. It was about a very decentralized thing. But no, I think it's outdated now. With what has happened after August 5 and what the state of the relationship between the two countries, it seems outdated. Maybe 30 years down the line, when there's a lot of magnanimity and when there are newer generations driven by economics, parts of it could, shed some light on the way forward. But as on date, no, it seems outdated.
So you brought two countries into this. Do you think Kashmir is still an issue between India and Pakistan?
I wouldn't want to, whether it is or it is not, I don't know. But as a Kashmiri, I'm going to tell my children that, look, this is where we are. This is our land. No ambiguity, no dead bodies. Just focus on your lives. For 30 years, we have done a lot of political monkeying. We've lost lives, army of orphans, army of widows. We need to put a stop to it, right? If there is an issue, the two countries have their foreign ministries which will deal with it. We are a state, we are a UT, hopefully we'll be a state, and let us work within our pay and grade and focus on development. It's something which the two countries will take care of.
Okay. Umar has said that he's fighting.
One more. What I told you is not politically very correct, is not politically very palatable. But this is the truth and this will save lives. Anybody saying counter to it, that no, we should, is talking about sacrifice. Sacrifice means blood. Blood means dead bodies. Blood means jail. Whosoever says so should first qualify whose children will die, whose children will go to jail. I don't want that people from the army of orphans, and now they supply more for the graves. I want to, because I have been a recipient of this personally, and that's why I detest it. Sorry, you can ask.
Umar has been saying that in North Kashmir he's fighting various forces in Delhi. What do you have to say on that?
There are 572 seats, and it's only in North Kashmir where the Election Commission has permitted Mr. Umar Abdullah to not fight the candidate but fight somebody in Delhi. So this is a unique thing. We will have to go to the Election Commission, but I would suggest that Mr. Umar Abdullah also visit a psychiatrist. That might be a better idea. Win or lose is a different thing. But there is a limit to arrogance. There is a limit to entitlement. If he is fighting some invisible forces in Delhi, which he was a part of, he was a foreign minister, then there are the agencies whom they used to call uncle and auntie, the same agencies at whose hands I have been tortured, beaten, have seen jail, and for them they were uncle and aunties. Now all of a sudden he's fighting the group of uncles and aunties and his ex-cabinet mates, right? Because obviously, apparently they are with me, and I'm too small for him to fight. I'm fighting elitism, his elitism, entitlement, OM, and murder. These three things I'm fighting. When I fight Umar Abdullah, when I fight National Conference, I don't matter. For me, to be very honest with you, my local rival, Mr. Mohammad Ramzan Chaudhry, I always rated him as a far better candidate than Umar Abdullah. He's a tourist. He was a local. Win and lose, as I said, is in the hands of God and through the and then in the hands of people. But if Mr. Umrullah thinks he is no big deal, so if he is living in some world of entitlement and things, these are smaller beings. Actually, I think Umrullah thinks that he, Modi ji, Biden, those 3, 4 people at the top, and then smaller beings like us, and he feels a bit humiliated having to fight me, right? But let me tell him that it is the people who have to vote. And there have been lesser beings in his place there. This is the people's court, and these levels of entitlement, they have died long back in 47. The rule of the Maharaja is not there. The monarchy is gone, and there are no democratic monarchs. You have to rub shoulders and fight with commoners like me.
There's been a war of words between Umar and you, especially. He's called you BFC teams of BJP. You have said, something like good BJP and bad BJP, or victim or victors, and then white collar terrorists. Your tweets have, gained a lot of traction online.
You see, when I say victim and victor, I say that in the last 30 years, there were two types of Kashmiris, victims and victors. Victims were those who died, who went to jail, who were tortured, who became orphans, who embraced widowhood, involuntarily, of course. And victors were those who inflicted these cruelties onto the people of JNK. I consider myself to be a victim. I've been in jail, I've been in torture, I've been hit black and white. I know whatever word it is, I'm not getting it. But Mr. Umar Abdullah is a part of that minority, that cruel minority, which ordered to kill, which ordered to jail, which ordered to torture, which created these army of orphans, which created these army of widows. So that is the victim and victor theory and a reality. Then the white collar killer. One of the heaviestly protected persons is the father and the son. Hundreds of people to protect them. And there are people like me, district presidents without security. The utterances that he makes in far off locations, he makes my people vulnerable to violent attacks. He is not a kid. He has been a foreign minister in a BJP government. He has been the chief minister with the Congress next time. His father has been the chief minister. He knows that in the last 30 years, at least 10,000 people have been killed because of our utterances, because of irresponsible utterances. And he's doing it on purpose. A killing in our camp would scare the cadres. He's desperately trying for that. That was the white collar killer. So there was the victor and the victim, and then the good and the bad. So when he is with Vajpayee Saab, it is good BJP. And he said that in the course of an interview, that he would love to work with Vajpayee Saab again, but he does not know the most intensely ideological party in India is the BJP. Individuals don't matter. So what he meant in that interview was that he has no problem with the Hindutva of BJP. He has a problem probably with Modi ji, because maybe he does not sort of acknowledge him the way Mr. Vajpayee would acknowledge him. So tomorrow if you have somebody else, say a Yogi ji, he would gladly go and sit in his lap. Then there is the good Shiv Sena and the bad Shiv Sena. In the 90s, when they were slaughtering Muslims in Mumbai, they were the bad Shiv Sena. Today, when they are sitting with them in an alliance, they are the bad Shiv Sena. So they are the good Shiv Sena. And then there is the bad torture and the good torture. Torture done in Umar Abdullah's time is for the sake of Kashmiri people, to make them safe. And today, normal policing is bad torture. So there is a good and bad for everything. So everything that is done in their time is good. The sort of, when Farooq Saab was in power, he said, I will bomb Pakistan. And when he was out of power, he says, hold talks with them. What is this nonsense? Stick to one thing. Do you want to bomb them? Or do you want to talk to them? And I will repeat again that we're fighting an election. In 2019, they fought an election. And I remember Farooq Saab saying a couple of things. A, he said, he appealed to the Hurriyat that vote for him. He appealed to Mr. Yasin Malik and said, we are on the same path. And when the same Yasin Malik was sentenced to lifetime, he said, I will not talk about it because it is sub judice. But he was talking about 370, that was also sub judice. So these theatres, and it's in the digitalized, in the digital age, we would at least have some respite from this, selective utterances when in power and when out of power. So, like, look at 2014. You see, the problem, our biggest problem today is that when they hurl something at us, you come running. Sir, I have heard you are 18. Are you? The next day you come again. Sir, are you? He said again. When we say, I said in 2019, I still have the recording for that please ask him where he was after the results of 2014 elections were announced. He was closeted with the BJP leadership and they decided to work together. After 4 days, the BJP leadership had a rethink that they might be going against the mandate of the people, so they then talked to the PDP. Publicly, they were telling the PDP, you work with us to keep the BJP out. Privately, they were bargaining with them. Okay? When somebody asked him, he said, it's not worth answering. And his closest confidant of that time, at that time, was Mr. Devinder Singh, Mr. Devinder Rana. He has left, and he said, I am a witness to it. Mr. Azad alluded to the same fact and said, yes, it happened. And there is the one more person who knows it happened. Yet nobody is asking him that what were you doing it? And what stops you from doing it again whenever the next assembly elections are taking place and actually striking a deal with them? Because you have to understand, none of the parties has been in alliance with BJP here during elections because it works. It does not. That's why he's accusing others, because he thinks it will harm them. Right? BJP is seen as a pro-Hindu, anti-Muslim party in the valley. There's a 95% Muslim population here. So the best thing is accuse Sajjad of Sajjad or person A or person B of having a truck with BJP, give the dog a bad name and kill it. What will happen in the rural areas? Couple of the workers will be killed. So there will be a wave and we will. That's the whole idea. Right? And now the PDP until yesterday was a paragon of virtue because they were in alliance with them. But now they're saying they are the C team. Now it has relegated to being a joke. And I will tell you something. I've also made up my mind. I will not take it lying down. If they are going to get personal, because this is personal, I'm not in alliance with them. Every single thing that you see is in their favor. Right now I was called, my people were called by the state authorities, administrative authorities, take down that, take down this. Now apparently they are at the drop of a hat making complaints against interviews, against other things. So if they want to get personal, trust me, we will cross the line too. We'll also ask questions which are true yet very uncomfortable. That in the party we have made up our mind.
Okay, one last question. You have transitioned from being a separatist to a mainstream politician now. Do you, as of now, especially after what has taken place in Jammu and Kashmir after the August 5, 2019 decisions, do you think separatism is dead and buried?
Let me tell you first of all, when I was never a part of Hurriyat. They never accepted me. I never accepted them. The first thing they did after my father died is throw me out. So I was that so-called separatist on the margins trying to gain an entry into the mainstream. At that time, all the mainstream parties used to say, he's an agency man. He's been floated by the Indian agencies. Now, when I come in here, they say he was a separatist. So when they were saying he's an agency man, they were trying to reach out to the Kashmiris. Ki dekho ye to banda gadbad hai. Now when the gadbad banda ends up into mainstream politics, they want to convey to Delhi, be careful with this banda because he was a separatist. So what they do in one stroke, they say his father created militant outfits, as you told me. And in the same thing, they say he's with BJP. You have to give a prize for fiction and, theatre, fiction to a national conference. In one single stroke, in one sentence, they are accusing a person of being a militant and also in truck with BJP. So this is, but I will still repeat that you are a big organization. I will still repeat that they're allowed to get away with murder because nobody is asking the proper questions. That, okay, Sajad Loan is bad, everybody is bad. Now, can you defend your 40 years record? Nobody is asking about 40 years record. I'm being asked to defend my 2.5 years record as an animal husbandry minister, right? While as people who have become foreign ministers, have been chief ministers, have presided over the worst human rights violations, worst killings, dozens of people in a single day, blindings, and I'm not talking of 2016. The pellet thing was started by Umar Abdullah. He ordered it. That menace was brought here. And the BJP leaders, if they meet us ever, they say, we don't use pellet like you guys do. And our heads hang in shame at that time. Says they did not use pellet. And even the Home Minister came, the Home Minister of a overtly pro-Hindu political party, accuses a Muslim Farooq Abdullah of fake encounters. How shameless can it get for him? But then, being shameless is also a trait which is absent in NC. What do you do?
But my last part of the question is separatism dead now as an ideology?
I think yes, it is. I think it is dead. People see that it was futile. And I would also add the ball is in Delhi's court. Kashmiris are ready to be a part of India. But they, I think, are looking at dignified coexistence. They are not looking at a status of indignity or unequal Indians. They are looking at being Indians with pride and at par with an Indian from Gujarat, with an Indian from Maharashtra, and an Indian from Tamil Nadu. As this has come, one of the reasons I would go to Parliament is to strive and advocate for the same set of laws, which is for the children of those states, for the rest of the country, as for the children of Kashmir, especially when it comes to police verification, which is that in the entire country, a person is verified. That does he have criminal antecedents? Does he have an FIR? But in Kashmir, the entire family tree is investigated. So if in a family of 500 people, cousins, second cousins, one person is involved in violence, 499 will not get a police clearance. Means they will not get a job, they will not get a passport, they can't participate in government contracts, and probably they might even pass a law that will not get bank loans. The other thing is that a lot of people challenge the system. There is a concept of reintegration in conflict resolution all across the world, where you ensure and strive that people who challenge the system and were rebellious people who rebelled against the system, what time will you give them to be reintegrated into the system? So if they are clean for 10 years, time to take the stigma off and let them be like normal civilians. That is done in all civilized countries. Now my question to NC is that have you ever talked of reintegration? Have you ever talked of police verification? Incidentally, as shameless as it would get, it is the National Conference which has changed the law in 1996 and then further strengthened it between 2008 and 2014, wherein they have recast the rules and said that a person will not be given a clean police certificate if any of his family is involved in any act, in any subversive act. So these are the questions that I would see need answer rather than going into things which don't exist. They are again fooling the people, talking of elections and identity, not defining identity, not even explaining how they would be able to get that identity back if the people of Kashmir give the mandate of 3 seats to them. Because in a house of 572, to make any big change, you need two-third majority. They are a part of the India Alliance. Has the India Alliance made it clear that they will restore that identity if they get a two-third majority? That they will restore 370, 35A or internal autonomy? If yes, mark my words, they issue a statement today, I will withdraw my papers today. But if they don't, then let them stop lying.